All right, everyone, we are here with a very special guest. We are joined by the CEO of Abercrombie, Fran Horowitz. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
We are so excited that you are here. We are obviously decked out in our Abercrombie.
I love it.
As we are every day.
Yep. Even better. Love it. Thank you for repping the brand.
As we are all
As
the time.
always.
Now, I guess we have plenty to discuss, but we have met. We got to do an awesome trip to Columbus, and we walked around campus, and it's really such a fun, cool place, great environment. Everybody was so welcoming and lovely, and it was such a great trip. So it makes us even more excited to be working with you guys.
Walking into the lunchroom, I was like, oh my God, I feel like it's my first day of school. Like, I'm so nervous.
It does kind of have that feel of like a college campus.
Oh, it definitely has a feel of a college campus. And if you get over to your point, you get over to the cafe around 11:30 or 12 o'clock. I mean, it is just filled with young associates. And it is a truly amazing place to work. I'm happy you guys came and experienced the campus itself. It's a mile drive up Fitch Path every morning. And I have to tell you, almost 10 years in this October, not one day does that feel old. I mean, every day it's just incredibly inspiring to know what's going to be at the other end once I park my car. So
that's amazing. When you walk around campus, say you walk into the cafe, do you feel like everybody's like, oh my gosh, she's here?
You know what? It's a great question, Mia, but my leadership style is very approachable. And in fact, I go to the cafe every day when if I'm not traveling or doing something fun and special like being here with you guys. So my whole mantra is always to be approachable. I go get my coffee every morning. I usually go over there around lunchtime. And every time I welcome new associates on campus, I tell them, when you see me in there, please come up, say hello. You find out a lot of good things when you wait online. You start a little, right?
Ears are
perfect. Do a little chit chat, ask a few questions. So
that's amazing.
When we talk about Abercrombie, we always have now left it at, Abercrombie. When is it proper to use Abercrombie and Fitch?
Well, the truth is Abercrombie and Fitch Co.
Yes.
Truthfully, right? And we do have a very important brand called Hollister, which is actually on fire right now.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, it's hard when the namesake of the company is actually one name of the brand as opposed to both names. So when I do things like this, I like to make sure that, I find a balanced time to make sure we talk about both teams.
Right. So you got Abercrombie and Fitch, you got Abercrombie, you got Hollister all underneath, then there's, which is good because sometimes I feel like people think that they're correcting us. We're like, we're wearing Abercrombie. Like, what about Abercrombie and Fitch? And I'm like, yeah, understand. I'm like,
I think you guys are, you're the insiders. You get to say Abercrombie.
Exactly. But,
right. Hey, we got the in.
Yes.
We feel cool.
We certainly do. But we want to hear more about your story, your journey, because, CEO of Abercrombie is a massive job, huge responsibilities. You've changed this company so much. But I'd love to know kind of those earlier years, what you were doing before you were at Abercrombie. And, does one have aspirations to be a CEO when they are younger? Because I can't even imagine being, I'm going to be a CEO. I hope kids say that. But
when they're filling out their things at school, it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yep.
CEO.
Exactly.
Of anything.
Exactly. So where did that journey start?
Oh my gosh, Fran, that journey started, it started so long ago. Literally, if you go back in time to even growing up, I grew up in Westchester County up in New York and worked at a clothing store in high school called Country Bumpkins.
Great name.
Great name. Started my own little business when I was in college called Sweat Success, which was all about decorating sweatshirts for fraternities and things of that nature because it was very different back then. They didn't have we didn't have the assortment that they have today.
Were you a part of like a sorority or is that why?
Yes. But I did it for all sororities, anybody that was interested. But
what gave you that idea?
Because basically what was available then was just very basic. There just wasn't a lot of excitement out there. So my parents got a kick out of it. I'd be home for the holidays and I'd be down in the basement, painting, decorating, doing all that kind of stuff. So always had a passion for fashion. When I graduated, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do at first, but the concept of a training program always appealed to me. I'm a very scheduled, organized person. I had a woman who's, I would say, was sort of like an older sister, family friend who I grew up with. She had gone through a retail training program, and I was very intrigued by the concept of it. And so I had the opportunity to join Saks Fifth Avenue and went through their training program, which again, you're an assistant, you're a senior assistant, you're a buyer, you go through the whole scheduling thing. And as time went on, I just realized that I had quite a innate ability to fix businesses, to be able to sort of see inside a business and understand what the opportunities were. That led me on to switch a little bit of my career later on, and I went from being in a department store retailer, I was at Bloomingdale's at that time, to what's called vertical retailing, which is what we do at Abercrombie, which is when you design, create, and produce your own product. So at the age of 40, when many people say you can't ever change, I had this incredible opportunity to move to Columbus, Ohio with my family, and that was coming from the New York area. Big change. In fact, when I got the call originally, I had to sort of look at the map and say, where is Columbus, Ohio?
Yep.
But I ended up joining a company called Express and just continued to just love retail and fell in love actually with the concept of creating your own brand as opposed to buying other people's brands and representing them in a space. So did that for a while. I came back to New York for a little bit. I was president of Loft. And then I got this phone call one day about joining Abercrombie. My family at that time, actually my daughter was in college and my husband and my son had stayed in Columbus when I came back to New York, and they were all loving it at that point. So I thought, okay, let me see what this is all about. And it has been 10 years of the most incredible, absolute incredible journey I could have ever imagined. When I first joined, the brands were just double-digit negative, like in our world, right? Just declining. Yeah. And the brand health was just very sadly, not what it used to be after it had been just two incredibly iconic brands. And there was something in my gut that just said, this is something incredible to do. And look where we are today.
Yeah. And
10 years of a lot of work, but here we are today.
And I think your hard work really shows because the product is incredible. And I think from that moment on, thinking about the year that you joined, just to see from that year, which was 2017, right around to
2014 is when I joined as president of Hollister.
Yes.
Became CEO in 2017.
Yeah. And then since then, now it's 2024. And to see how much the brand has grown to be, what it was, because, when we grew up, it was like Abercrombie, Hollister, these brands that we all wanted to wear every single day. When you go to school, you want to be the one wearing Abercrombie and Hollister. And now it's back and better than ever. I think the product has gotten even better.
Well, yeah. No, absolutely.
Truly,
it must be,
though.
How kind of gratifying is it now to hear? Because it really does feel like that is the main conversation around the brand is like, or if you talk to, I have the experience with my older relatives and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you're working with Abercrombie. Like, I'm like, yeah. And they're like, everybody's talking about it. It's so great. Must be so, like, it's back. Like that's everyone loves to say. And it's that just must be so gratifying to hear everybody like have that passion for the brand again.
It is incredibly satisfying, especially because it took a long time, right? Because everyone that's saying that today was not on the journey necessarily for the whole time. So the big decision at the beginning was, two brands that were essentially competing with themselves. And we had to decide, A, do you make just one brand and put it together? Or do you make a true iconic global teen brand, which is what Hollister has become, and age up the Abercrombie consumer? If you ask a lot of the marketers out there, it's something that they'll tell you probably can't be done to reimagine a brand like that. And so that challenge, once it was thrown at us, we're like, all right, let's roll up those sleeves and see what we can figure out. And that's exactly what we've done. So Hollister, really found its place in the teen market. And now, just like you guys, I mean, it's just probably 20-ish or so you enter the Abercrombie brand and you stay well on.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it just resonates so well with our age group.
And I feel like it's very age appropriate, but still cool. You know what I mean? Like it's like you feel comfortable going to work in what you're wearing. Like, I mean, this is obviously not your usual workplace.
You get to wear to
but
work.
even like the different pants, the trousers, everything, the sweaters, like there's so many options, like from full sweaters to cropped. And then even with like the NFL collection, just being so like with the brand and what people are into and like I said, cool. Like when we showed the sweaters last week or the week before, like people were like, "Oh my god!" And it's already sold out. You're like, it just flies off the shelf.
It moves so fast. I'm so glad I got this. Like you guys had the Eagles bomber jacket. I was like, I need that jacket immediately.
Right.
And thank God I did, because now it's like, and then it was gone, and I was like, sorry everybody.
It's so cool, and I feel so honored that you guys want to work with us, because I see TikToks all the time where it's like, oh my god, look at this, like the bomber jacket, like look at this bomber jacket from Abercrombie. Everyone's like, oh my god, it's sold out already in the comments. Like people are trying to get it from each other, so it's amazing.
It's been so great for us, because it's been a dream brand for us to work with for a long time. I remember specifically, I want to say it was maybe
2019. We had moved just into this office. I remember.
And we'd gone out on a trip to LA, and we went to this premiere, and we were working. We had some clips we had to film and whatever, and I wore a dress from Abercrombie. And I remember posting on Instagram, and everyone was like, "Where's the dress from? Where's the dress from?" I was like, "It's from Abercrombie," and they were like, "What? No!" Like it was, and even since then, we're like, we really would love this partnership to come to fruition, and it's been so nice that
it's amazing
that it has. I said I got stopped on the street this morning walking to work. A man who looked very fashionable. I would assume he maybe worked in fashion. I don't know, but he was like, can I ask you where your sweater is from?
Oh my God, I love that.
And I was like, it's Abercrombie. He was like, I knew it. Like he has to take a picture of my sweater.
Yeah.
He was like, do you care?
He's not going to steal it.
He goes, do you care if your face is in it? I was like, I go for it.
Yeah, go for it. No, it's amazing.
I was like on the side while like.
And the quality is incredible. I still have my favorite bathing suit from Abercrombie I got in 2019. It's a cheetah print bathing suit. I wore it all summer. Like just the quality is fantastic. But when you're talking about your journey to becoming CEO, you also mentioned you have a family. You are a mom. You had to make these decisions.
Do. Yes.
What was that like in the transition to be moving your family to Columbus, moving back, and then going back to them?
So it's funny that we actually didn't start on family, because that's usually where I start any of these talks, because my family is obviously very near and dear to me. So my husband is incredibly supportive, and I have 2 grown children, and a son-in-law and a future daughter-in-law. And I call us a 6-pack. And we do a lot of things together, and travel is a 6-pack. But going back in time, it's very important as a female leader, I will say to both of you and all of those listening, to make sure you bring your kids along with you on your career. It is one of the most important things that you can do. And when my daughter was little, I can't remember, maybe 7 or 8, I asked her what she wanted to be for Halloween. And she said, I don't want to be a working mommy. I want to be a stay-home mommy for Halloween. And I was like, wow, she is really, first of all, what does that look like? Can we just get a visual? What does that look like? And what is she trying to tell me? And she was trying to tell me that the other moms are there picking their kids up at school, or there for a play date or whatever it might be. And, I'd made a decision, and it was not me. I wasn't there. But it was a very pivotal moment for me, because I realized I have to help her understand why it's so important for me to do what I do. And from that point forward, she has always been a very big part of my journey, probably my biggest fan today. And my son as well. My son, I also credit and say, when he becomes a successful, executive someday, that he will be very understanding of women in the workplace, what it takes, the sacrifices, the balance, all of that, because he's also experienced it from a different perspective. So that's my advice out there, which is always just make sure, you bring them along and you help them understand what you do, why you do it. We just actually had our first Bring Your Child to Work Day at Abercrombie, and it was an incredible, incredible success.
That's amazing. Now, is that something that you felt strongly about doing, like because of how much this means to you?
Yes, and it was a matter of timing too. It's funny, our average age of our associate when I first started was about 27, and it's now closer to 30, because people are staying for a lot longer because of our culture and all the things that we've done. So there's a lot of kids now. There weren't as many kids and, married couples when for years ago. And so it's all been part of the timing and the passion, obviously, to make sure that the kids know what you're doing.
You mentioned the culture and how everyone has really fallen in love with working there. What were kind of some of the steps that you had to take to change that conversation around the culture of being an employee for Abercrombie, and kind of ideas that the public had of, what the brand was and what was going on behind the scenes?
Amazing question. So there's so many different ways to kind of to get at that. But the most important thing I did when I first got there was help everybody understand that there is autonomy and accountability in what you do. The prior leadership really believed in much more of sort of a top-down management, and I believed in everything coming from the bottom up, that good ideas come from everywhere. Make sure you're a good listener, get out there, listen to what people's ideas are, help them bring them to you. We had a situation many years ago where I had a merchant stand up in the front of a meeting and show a T-shirt for Pride. I was like, fantastic. Like, let's do it. Get it into the stores. And they're like, well, we're not allowed to do these in stores. We can just do it as sort of an internal campaign. Kind of scratched my head and I thought, did my research to try to understand what that was all about. And from that day forward, that obviously changed, dramatically. Obviously, what's important to our associates and what's important to our customers is what's important to us. And we have to just make sure that all of the partnerships that we have out there represent that at all times.
Right. And like, going off what your morals align with and leading from that way on.
Yes, and a lot of it does still come from the bottom up, though. I mean, another great example is we've had a partnership with an organization called Serious Fun Children's Network, which are camps for kids with serious illness around the world, and the kids get to go for free. And it was a new organization for me. I hadn't experienced it before I got to Abercrombie, but I watched our associates come back from these camp experiences literally telling me that their lives were changed. I'm like, all right, I got to find out about this, right? I got to dig in and see what this is all about. And went to camp, volunteered, experienced it, formed a longer standing partnership with them. So you really do have to listen to it really comes from the associates. It's not about what matters to the executives. It's really what matters to the associates.
Right. Yeah. When you talked about your journey and you mentioned that this, came to you at the age of 40, and you obviously had an amazing career before that, what's your advice to young women around our age who may be thinking like, oh, I keep trying and I'm not there yet, but they see other people around the same age that maybe are ahead of them? Like, what's a piece of advice that you would give?
I think you have to be courageous. I think you have to continue to learn and develop along the way. You're never done. I'm a perpetual student. I mean, I just turned 61 a few weeks ago, and I love learning and love listening. So don't ever give up. I mean, that goes all the way back to sports with your kids. When you say to them they're losing 10-0, you're like, don't ever give up. There's still a chance out there. But make sure that you do a lot of networking. And you make sure that you continue to broaden your scope. What I tell the associates on campus all the time is anytime you have an opportunity to raise your hand to be captain of a project, something that's maybe going to help you meet some other people within the Abercrombie community that you don't directly work with, raise your hand, volunteer, make sure you broaden your scope. I mean, there's lots of ways to do that as well.
Yeah, what I do love about our generation, I think I see it more, especially like on social media, where women, like when they get to, mid to late 20s, in their 30s, I feel like maybe it used to be like, oh, when you turn 30, like your life changes, your life is over. But now everyone's like, my life has just begun. Like at this age, like in your 30s, it gets even better. Your 40s, it gets even better because you learn so much more and gain so much more confidence in yourself. Without a doubt. I mean, the more experience you have and the older you get, there's no question. I mean, you can watch it from the young associates as well. As they grow and develop, you can see over the years when I've worked with several of them, the confidence that they have when they stand up in front of the room the first time versus when they stand up in the room, right, the 10th time, they talk about their business and the accomplishments that they've done. Would you say that you have like a great sense of confidence?
I would say that at this point of my life, yes.
Yeah, I love that because you never.
It took time,
right? Because I feel like people will talk about, especially in your position, it's like some people will say like, no, I still question myself, but I think it's so great to be so confident in yourself.
Yeah, I mean, what you have to do though, with that said, is make sure that you're open to listen. The one thing I do say on campus all the time is, I want to be wrong. So please tell me if I'm wrong. We make these funny little burrito bets on campus and stuff, and like, please get up in front of the room and tell everybody if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong. Don't predetermine something before it happens. So even if you have confidence, you can't have that be the dictator of whether or not you're right in a situation. That's the most important piece.
That's a false sense of confidence.
Yes,
then.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I think there's probably a lot of people, unfortunately, who may experience that.
Right, because being wrong can be a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that means that you're open to growing and changing. And if you don't grow and change, how do we get better? If you're always right, you're never going to learn anything.
Well, plus, if you've made a mistake, the best thing you can do is own it fast and move on.
Right.
Right. If you're sticking to it just to prove to stick to it, you could find yourself down a really bad road.
Yeah. I also think that makes somebody a great leader as well and relatable. It's like you can look up to somebody who can be like, oh, I made a mistake. It's like, well, we all do. So
exactly.
we can relate to
You're
that.
human, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, we see the leadership. It's been so great. We see how the culture has changed. But I think also making great business moves and making those decisions, right? You know, it's great clothing. It's high quality. It's at a great price point. And you're also working with, you know, these collaborations that are so popular to people. And I mean, I just think because I have literally every single item of Eagles merch that you guys have made together. And the NFL's got to be one of the hardest entities to work with or collaborate with. Why was that partnership important?
So all partnerships are important if they represent the life moments of our customer. And we just knew that it was something very, very important to our consumer. But we started small. So we started this partnership 3 years ago with, I think, maybe half a dozen teams to just test and learn. And that's a test and learn for us as well as it was for them.
Yeah.
Then last year, we got all 32 teams, which was pretty incredible. And this year, not only do we have the 32 teams, but we have expanded categories. I mean, just like the sweater that you're wearing today, we also now have outerwear and hats. We just started off with T-shirts and fleece. So the expansion of that's been pretty incredible too.
Yeah, it is. I gotta say, it's one of the coolest things. I think anybody that has worked in clothing or is a fan of teams, you know, that's when you get the actual team branded things and you have the team's approval to wear it. It's big.
And I feel like, you know, up until a couple of years ago as well, we talked about, you know, sports like merch and collections at stores for women
audience,
where you know everybody would make things that are pink, right? And it's like, oh, that's the female sports merch. And it's like, we don't want that.
Right.
Yes, we love pink, but we want to wear something
Right.
that's cute, that has the team colors. Like we want
a women's jersey, they all make pink.
They all
I don't
make
want a pink jersey.
Right. That used to be pink with silver glitter. It was everything. It was like,
so funny.
we want to have the colors of the team, but we want it to be cute, and that's exactly what you guys have done.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'll thank the team for that.
It's we're so excited about it. We are obviously a massive pop culture show. We know your daughter is a pop culture super fan as well. She's in the room with us, so I'm sure she's keeping you up to date on what's going on, and you see everything that she does, so that keeps you informed as well. What's anything going on right now that you have been following along to or you're excited about? She's like, Abby's like,
come on, Mom. You know the answer. You know the answer.
From a pop culture perspective, let's see. Where do we start?
You're a busy woman.
I mean, it was great. I'm a big tennis fan. I mean, watching the Open and seeing everybody that was there yesterday, cheering everybody on, was very, very cool. You kind of think to yourself, you know, when you see some of those athletes there and you're like, do they judge like how big an athlete they are versus some of the other people, right? I mean, these tennis players out there for 3, 4, 5 hours, it's incredible what they do. So love sports, love fashion, obviously, always watching things like
the U.S. Open's a good
What about New York
collaboration.
Fashion Week? Have you kept your eye on New York Fashion Week?
I have. My daughter and I actually play this game whenever we like the Met Gala and stuff, and you see like the pictures. We try to guess like what they're wearing before we actually see what they're wearing. So we always do that. From a reality TV show, I mean, I get a kick out of some of the real estate shows. I just watched Owning Manhattan. Selling.
So did we.
Yeah. Okay. Selling Sunset and those outfits. I mean, you watch it for I don't know whether you watch it more to see like the houses or the outfits.
Right.
That's what I said today. I was talking about it today that, you know, they just had a new season come out and they're not fighting over real estate. They're fighting over one of them wearing like the Miu Miu diaper to a broker's open and having it be inappropriate.
Yeah. I mean, it's also the fakest show of all time.
Yeah, but that's why that's why it's good. I know Abby does a lot for like Real Housewives stuff. Do you watch those shows with her, or Is that harder to break into?
That's a little harder. Yes, that's a little harder for me to break into. We each have to have our, we each have to have our own path too on certain things, and that's her path.
So did you watch her the whiteboard videos tell you what's up to date?
Yes,
then?
right.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, this has been so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
for
much
coming in and
truly.
talking to us. I mean, like we said, we cannot rave about it enough. We've loved working with you guys, and I think you have shown us that you can kind of like flip a company that everyone had their ideas and completely change it and bring it into, this whole new generation of young men and women, and it's really great.
Well, I want to thank both of you for your incredible, incredible support, and all of your listeners as well. It's very heartwarming to know when it resonates and you can see the love and the passion that people feel for your brand. It means a tremendous amount to me and to the team as well. So
thank you so much, Fran. It really means a lot. The fact that we got to meet you in Columbus and that you came here and took time with us today really means the world. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.